Welcome, I am Senator Michelle McManus, and welcome to my cable show this month, In Touch with Northern Michigan. Today's guest is our wonderful Secretary of State, Terri Lynn, and we feel very privileged to have you here today, and thank you for coming to talk a little bit about your office, about the upcoming presidential election. Very exciting opportunity for all Michigan citizens. But before we get into the presidential primary, can we talk a little bit about the mission of the Secretary of State's office and some items like your branch service opportunities for consumers? So maybe just start with the mission and how long you've actually been here.
Well, thank you, Senator. It's great to be here today. I've actually been here now my second term. So it's been 5 years, and it's been a great opportunity. I've enjoyed serving. And I really have two main jobs that most people are familiar with, and that's the motor vehicle side and the election side. I do have some other jobs like notaries and a few other things that maybe people aren't aware of, but the most that people interact with us, of course, is on the motor vehicle side. If you've got a car or if you drive in Michigan, we interact with you at one of our branch offices. We do all sorts of services, as you know, get your driver's license. For you, we do the tabs for your car, your vehicles. We also register auto dealers and repair shops. That's one of the things that we do too. And we tried to make it more customer friendly. That's been my goal. And we tried to give you as many services to do without having to come into the branch to get that service done. For example, we have our online services. You can get your tabs online now, whether for your boat or your motorcycle, whatever vehicle you have in Michigan. And then we also have other ways to do your business too, like we have our new self-service centers. So when you come into one of our branches, it's like a very simple machine to use, a couple of touches. You put your credit card in, scan your renewal notice, and out prints out a tab in less than a minute.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it works really well, and it gives our services more availability to our customers because it's also outside of our branches, so it's available 24/7. In fact, in the Traverse City area, we have very high usage of that machine at our branch office in Traverse City because people can come any time of the day or night and get their tabs, and people really have liked that service.
Oh, it's like an ATM.
Right, exactly, like an ATM-style machine. And we have about 30 of them out there, and we're in the process right now of purchasing some more, getting some more online, and the goal is to have them at every one of our branch offices. Right now, like I said, we have them about at 30 of our offices. And then, of course, we're doing a lot of things with new technology in our branch. In our new Super and Plus offices, like we have in Traverse City, we have instant titles now. Used to be that if you wanted a title, you had to go to Lansing and
a title like for a car?
Right, for a car, yes. You had to apply for it. It took a week in the mail. And now for just an additional cost, we can actually give you an instant title. We also pulled out driving records. Again, you used to have to mail that to Lansing or drive to Lansing to get a copy of that. But with technology, it's allowed us to give that right to the branch office. So you can come in and for $7 you can get a copy of your driving record. And a lot of folks need that for when they apply for a job or different insurance reasons or whatever, and so really is a service that people wanted, and we were happy to deliver that to them. And then of course we're just changing our branches on how we do them. We've looked at the flow of the traffic in the branch, how we can get people in and out quicker. We've updated our computer lines, our computer systems, so we've done a lot to make your experience go a lot quicker when you come into the branch. Because we love this great state. We don't want you standing in our branch. We want you out enjoying it. And so that's been our goal. And then, of course, in these tight budget times, we've tried to keep our costs down, and technology has allowed us to do that. And also, through our consolidation program, we've been able to save the money from the bricks and mortar and put it into customer service. So, so that's really the branch side. And then, of course, we have elections. That's been a big issue the last 5 years I've been here. The federal government never really was involved in elections, and they got in under a program called HAVA, the Help America Vote Act, when I first came into office, where they basically outlined some ways that we needed to do business in elections. Now, a lot of states were not consistent, and that was a big issue. And even in Michigan, we had 5 different systems. We had, paper ballot, we had touch screens, we had lever machines still. And so we went to one system in Michigan, the optical scan system. We thought that was the best system for Michigan. You know, we love elections in Michigan, and we also love our, you know, tie elections where we have a lot of times where we have recounts where it's a close vote. So we needed to have a system that people really felt confident in, that it was recountable, and the paper ballot does that for us. So we bought all optical scans for the entire state.
Now, how was that purchased? I mean,
well,
money from the federal government? Or?
Right. The federal government gave the state of Michigan about $100 million. And then what we decided to do was use the power of the state to purchase the equipment. A lot of states, what they did is just gave the money to the locals. Well, in doing that, you don't get the purchasing power that the state has. So what we did was went to all the locals and said, what type of vendor do you want to buy? This is the system you have to have, but you can pick your vendor.
Okay.
So we went out and did that bid process. Some people picked one or another vendor, and then we purchased it for the state, so we got a better cost. The other thing we were able to do was to hold the contract also too for the maintenance agreements and the support agreements, which was also a lower cost for the local units. And also the local units didn't have to go through the whole bid process. We did that through the state. It saved a lot of resources and time for the locals also.
So we really shouldn't see any of those machines where you pull the lever anymore?
No, those are all gone. We're all in the optical scan, and the system has worked very well. In fact, you should be very proud of our clerks out there in Michigan, because we're the only major state that didn't have to go back and redo it. As you know, Florida, they purchased some of the touch screens. They decided that wasn't working for them, so they had to purchase new equipment. State of California had the same issue. In fact, the state of New York hasn't even decided on a system to purchase yet, and so the Department of Justice is actually running the elections in New York. So that's not a good place to be when the Department of Justice is in your office.
Well, how many, did you have a certain time frame where this all had to be done?
Right, exactly. We had about a 4-year time period to get it all accomplished. We were ahead of most states for a couple of reasons. One, because we had such a great network of clerks that worked together to implement this, but also we already had the qualified voter file, which is the voting record for all our voters in the state of Michigan. We already had that on a statewide database. And that was also one of the requirements that states implement that program. And since we already had it, we didn't have to use any of our time to do that program. So basically we were able to implement that, and everyone has one system. It's a lot of cost savings for the locals and easier for the voter.
Yeah. So how many do you think you bought across the state?
Oh, over 5,000 of them.
Oh my.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was a huge buy. It was a huge implementation, and but worked very closely with our vendors, and I think it's worked out pretty well.
Well, that's great. Now, there are now 4 election dates, the consolidation of elections. Can you maybe talk a little bit about why we went that route?
Yeah, I'll tell you, in Michigan, we must have loved our elections because it seemed we had one about every other week. I used to be a county clerk in Kent, and I worked very closely with the County Clerks Association and the legislature to try to change that system so that we'd only have 4 a year. And the legislature, along with you, Senator, and thank you for that support, went out and came up with the program that we have now, which is 4 dates a year. This saves a lot of confusion for the voters, so everybody knows when the elections are, and it also is a very huge cost savings for local units and for the state. We went to 4 elections, as you mentioned. February is the presidential one, which of course, as you know, has now been moved, but that was the idea. It also gives the opportunity for locals to put on, for example, any type of millage, anything they wanted. And then the May one was scheduled as the school election, or again, any local millages that wanted to be on. And then the August would be the primary, and then the November would be the general. And then on non-presidential or gubernatorial years, then cities would hold their elections if they wanted to use it for that. So it really has worked out well. It also helps us to get the media to focus on the election dates that we now have. So I think we've also encouraged voter turnout. In fact, about the second year we did this, the May election increased by about 50% alone. Because it was really focused on the schools, and people knew that.
School board elections.
Right, school board elections or millages, and people came out to vote. So I think it's been very successful. Okay.
Well, do other states do that? I mean, do you look at for some of these ideas from other states? Any models out there? Or?
Yeah, some of the other